Herman Mashaba, fabulous to have you in the Biznews studio. Unfortunately, we're not going to see you at the Biznews conference this time around, but you are coming again in March.
Yes, I really regret that. If I knew on time, I would have made everything possible, because the last time I was there was great and had an opportunity to play golf at that beautiful golf course. So it's unfortunate I got to know about this late, but it's already in my diary for next year.
But you've got Athol Trollop there. He's going to be talking to us from the Eastern Cape, your leader from the Eastern Cape.
I think you've got really one of the patriots. When you call the real sons of the soil, you know, there's this thing called son of the soil. People think that it only applies to black people. Son of the soil, for me, is someone who's a patriot. And Athol Trollop actually fall into that category. If obviously people who call son of the soil to be patriots, there's no better patriot than Athol Trollop.
You were the very first opening speaker at the very first Biznews conference. So we're looking forward to having you back in March. But with Athol, let's maybe kick off there. He is now your leader in the Eastern Cape. You have contested a by-election in the Eastern Cape. There are 3 by-elections. I'm going to talk about all 3 of them and to see how Action SA is going. You got 8% of the vote.
That's right.
Was it a disappointment?
Nope, absolutely not. I think, Alec, as you are aware, we had less than 2 months when Athol made a presentation to our Senate that we contest. He says, look, you know what, let's test the waters. You know, because we're moving from north. Whatever we are going to get, it's positive for us. You can imagine we had never done anything in the Eastern Cape before. We remember we only contested 6 municipalities last year, 3 in Gauteng and 3 in the KZN. So we wanted to really use this as a test to see the response of the Eastern Cape, because you remember, you know, the Eastern Cape and the rural areas are the ones who are always been regarded as strong ANC strongholds. So we wanted to test this. Less than 2 months to pick up a candidate. We said, Athol, you can do it on condition you find a good candidate. We are prepared to really put every resource behind it to test the water. But obviously, I think you contest to win, because for us as Action SA, we're not in this game to be in opposition. I'm not looking for a job to be an MP or an mayor. No, I want to govern. We want to govern as Action SA. And you know why we want to govern? So that we can change the lives of people. We're not the party that is an employment agency for people to be public reps. We want people who can really work. So I think for us, look at it in terms of our performance. From 8%, some of the parties, I don't have to mention their names, who've been there for the last 20 years. We outperformed them by double. So to move from nothing to 8%, in KwaNobuhle, the stronghold of ANC, I think it's commendable, and I give Athol worked. I mean, unbelievable. We've made an impression, because when we went there, people didn't know what Action SA was all about. We had less than 2 months to do this work, and honestly, I give. Athol, for me, I'll give him extra distinctions if I was his lecturer.
In Gauteng, you contested 2 elections, one in Tshwane, one in Johannesburg, and in both you got 22% of the vote, coming second in the one and third in the other. Now that's an uplift from where you were in the local government elections.
I can proudly, and I challenge anyone in the world, not in South Africa. We look at the electoral results of South Africa since 1994. We're the first political party in this country to get support from all South Africans, be in the townships, be in the suburbs. So with the party that appeals to all South Africans, because if you look at our core values, the first one is non-racialism. I hate with a passion the racial policies. I think that's the reason why we are suffering like this, because of actually being worse than apartheid in terms of the racial classification. So what happened? Look at us. How we performed last year. Now, what gives me such great satisfaction is that 6 months after the local government elections, there was a vacancy in Tshwane, Ward 96. This ward 80% white Afrikaners. 80% white Afrikaners. First election in August last year, we received 6%, and we are happy with 6% from nothing. We received 6%. 6 months later, we went from 6% to 22%. Everyone else, we were the fifth biggest party. It was the DA, Freedom Front Plus, ANC, and EFF, and us. In less than 6 months, it was the DA with a big drop, and Action SA from 6% to 2%. Everyone else...
22, yeah.
Sorry, 22%. Everyone else dropped significantly. So that is, I think, for us, it is so gratifying. I think at Engekerk in Montana, at Engekerk voting station, we dropped the ANC DA by 29% in this particular, at Engekerk, that vote VD.
And then in Johannesburg?
Then we went to Soweto a month or so later, Ward 53 in Soweto, also one of the biggest ward. ANC used to get up to 90% of this vote. Was one of the wards where we did not do well in Soweto. To 12%, the first time in November. The first time to contest, we got, overall in Soweto, remember we got 22% last year. So this award did not perform as much as the others. So we contested this. We moved from 12% also to 28, just 21, just under 22%. And you know what we did to the ANC? November, ANC had 59%. Today we took them to 31%.
So it's now a marginal ward, whereas it was a very safe one for them.
Alec, this is not stuff from Harvard University. Huh? I'm not giving you stuff by professors and experts analyzing on the computers. I'm giving you facts. We took ANC from 59% in less than 6 months to 31% in one ward. So this, for me, it is something that gives me every reason in the world to wake up every morning, and actually makes me more determined, because some people, more especially professionals and analysts, they have this wrong impression that ANC cannot be unseated. Yes, ANC won't be unseated if we don't do anything. But Action SA is prepared to act and ensure that we democratically remove ANC. And we are going to remove ANC out of power come 2024.
Have you changed your strategy? And I ask this because I had a fascinating discussion with Frans Cronje last week, Dr. Frans Cronje, political analyst, who was always negative on South Africa and now is very excited about the future because of the political changes. And he said the ANC voters who are looking for a home are upset because the opposition parties, Action SA, DA, EFF, are always squabbling and fighting with each other.
Well, that's a very interesting observation, and I think it's an ignorance of South Africans. The lack of understanding of democracy. I think this is actually good what is happening. As you're aware, Alec, I personally put DA into government in Tshwane, Johannesburg, and Ekurhuleni. You remember the DA wanted these municipalities under ANC, and on the day of first council meeting, I mobilized other parties to vote vote for the DA, put them into power. So DA is in government because of my personal intervention to put them in government, because I said I'm in this game to remove the ANC from power. So, and I was really so pleased that other parties supported my strategy to remove ANC from power.
You told me you woke up that morning and you said, we've got to do something.
Yeah, because on Sunday, look, we were having discussions with the DA up to Friday. Monday was the first council meeting in Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni and Tshwane on Tuesday. DA decided on Friday, they had a good meeting. We had a good meeting, and they says, look, the few items that are outstanding, we just want to follow up with our FedEx. But we said, but guys, you are the leadership, there's no time. But unfortunately, they says, no, they have to consult their FedEx. And they said they will come back to us by Sunday, 5 p.m. My goodness. Council is on Monday. We need to brief our councillors. But I then suggested, with the Freedom Front Plus, we suggested that we issue a press statement, because at the time, the media was aware that we were having this last-minute discussion. DA said, no, we must not say anything. But we said, but DA, you must be crazy. We run public institutions. We are here on behalf of the public. We can't have a meeting and not really report back to society. There's nothing to hide. If you don't want to be part of this press statement, that's fine. And that's what we all told them. Freedom Front Plus ACDP, we said, if you don't want to, we are issuing a statement that we've had this meeting. There are a few outstanding issues that DA still wants to consult. From our side, we are happy to proceed, but we respecting them. We'll give them until Sunday to come back to us. So, Saturday morning, John Steenhuisen had a press conference to pull out of the negotiations.
But this is worrying for us as public in South Africa, because we now see 2024 just around the corner as an opportunity for coalition politics. But the ANC voters, and I'm sure many other voters as well, are saying, damn it, can you guys ever really sit around a fire and run this country together?
No, I think it's going to be a question of education. And as us as Action SA, fortunate enough, we're doing this. As you are aware, 20 million South Africans stayed away from voting. 10 million of them actually never even bothered to register, particularly the youth, because of the level of education that they're receiving. People don't understand the power of their vote. People don't understand the power of a multi-party government, because then you don't have the dominance of and the abuse of having one party state, like what
which we've had in South Africa for 400 years.
Yes.
Frans Cronje was saying, whether it was the Dutch or the British colonialists,
yes,
whether it was the National Party.
And look at the National Party. I just finished. I was on holiday just over a week ago, spent a week in Mauritius, and finished reading the Super Afrikaners. Look at the Broederbond and how book. From 1948 when they took over, and how they abused their power. You know, so one party state is very dangerous, because you've got a government that can mislead society and create racial divisions. And now we experience the same thing with the ANC taking over, and how they abuse their dominance. So I think I'm appealing to South Africans to embrace coalitions, because coalitions for the next 50, 100 years, South Africa is going to live under coalitions. And I think it's good. Why Alec is good is because we're going to hold one another accountable. One thing I want South Africans to know, that we will never drop DA from governing right now under this coalition arrangement where we put them in. I'll mobilize personally to make sure that there's no motion of no confidence to remove them from office. But one thing for sure, DA is not going to do as they please. If there are issues that we're not happy about, we are not going to really be somewhere in dark rooms and some shebeens in Saxon world to go and sort out those issues. We're going to sort out those issues for people to really know that we are not happy. For an example, we're holding the DA accountable in Tshwane on the appointment of Blackheads Consulting owned by Edwin Sodi in 2019. Appointed these people of Amaskral, where I come from. My family, people of Amaskral and Rooival area, for 16 years, they've not had clean water. For 16 years. For the DA to have appointed this company with no knowledge whatsoever of...
Not the same Sodi.
Sodi. No,
same
Sodi.
guy.
Same guy. Same guy. From Free State, the Free State guy.
Wow.
He had no knowledge of water treatment plant. He was not even on the data list. He did not. The city had to give him R1 million to go and set up a site. There are companies. I mean, water treatment plants. You know, it's a technology that's been there for the last 200 years or so. They give it to Sodi, who has got nothing, no knowledge. He's run away. He's gone. So we're holding the DA accountable, and we're going to hold them accountable in public. And we are asking the DA If they see us doing anything that is against the public expectations, they must hold us accountable. But that does not really mean that we are not working together, because most of the issues we agree. But where we believe that the government is abusing its power, that's the beauty now, where now coalition arrangements happen. So people must not really be scared. Actually, we must embrace and actually celebrate this, that at least we don't have one party dominance that is going to really abuse us.
Well, Dr. Frans Cronje got terribly excited when he started looking at the economic potential. Now, you as an entrepreneur, as a self-made business person, knows more about the opportunities that exist in South Africa than most people, and the potential that's here, but has been hurt because of poor governance. Maybe for 400 years, if we want to go back to the way it's been going on.
I think we destroyed this economy the last 15, 20 years. I think let us be fair to ourselves. We inherited in 1994 one of the most developed countries. Unfortunately, it was developed for a small white community. Unemployment, when I grew up in this country, South Africa was short of manpower. That's why the reason why as a student would get temporary jobs during weekends and during school holidays and so forth. But obviously it was not a fair system. But one thing for sure, people of Soweto had trains running. They had Padco buses. I would visit my mother here in Johannesburg from Pretoria, take a train from Amanskraal to Pretoria, take a Padco bus from there.
But the potential has always, this has always been a country with massive potential.
Yes, that is that is what I wonder.
Can it be unleashed by coalition
absolutely.
politics?
Babelehi industrial area, for an example, where I grew up, my sister's working there, earning 3 rands a week, walking to work, working Monday to Friday. I grew up seeing my sisters waking up Monday to Friday, going to work. Friday with the 3 rands, buy something for us. That's why I respected them, because they provided for me and the family and other families. That is Babelehi industrial area, under Buputatswana, just to employ millions, not hundreds, millions of people of Amanskraal, that whole area. That industrial area, it's one of the biggest industrial area. And it's, how old is that industrial area? Maybe just over 45, 50 years. Also by world standards, it's a new industrial area. It's literally empty. COSATU and the Tripartite Alliance and the South African Communist Party closed it down. Go to Mokwasi, go to Twatwa, go all over the country. Trains in Soweto don't operate any longer. People of Soweto to come to Sandton, unfortunately, they've got the only mode of transport they can use are trains. So the ANC in 1994 inherited a system that was there, yes, acceptable. It was obviously catering for a few. So the only thing that they needed to do to just really expand it. So what they did, destroyed it, changed names. So I'm sure, you know.
We know it. We know this stuff now, Herman, and that's great. But the point about all of this, or a point about all of this, is that the corruption continues. And I'm going to bring up something that happened this morning. Peter Hain went with Athol Williams, the whistleblower on Bain, to the British government. This morning, we hear from the Financial Times of London that the British government has banned Bain and Co.
I heard it in the news coming here.
They've banned them for 3 years. We in South Africa have a Bain & Co., which is expanding, which has got new offices, which has got lots of government contracts and many in the private sector. What is Action SA's stance on this, given that you were very anti-corruption when you were mayor of Joburg?
One thing I would giving a commitment to South Africa. You remember when I took over as the mayor of the city of Johannesburg with loads of corruption cases being brought to my attention, and I realized I just can't handle this. Through council, formed what is today called in the city of Johannesburg Group Forensic and Investigation Services, and we were fortunate to get the services of General Sibia, who was sidelined by the ANC government for doing the right things, and we've asked him, capacitate him to say, please bring the best of the best from the Scorpions days to set up this unit. In the 3 years, uncovered 35 billion rands of cases. And
35 billion.
35 billion. And majority of those cases, Alec, are as clear as daylight. Honestly, you don't even have to be a professional prosecutor to prosecute those cases. To give you an example, let me just give you an example because that's the one that people can see. Gautrain Station, that piece of land where Gautrain Station is built, that piece of land, the city of Johannesburg donated it to a Gupta-linked company for zero, nothing. They gave them the title deed, and it says the day when you make money, give us 280 million rands. Prime piece of ground.
Is that the one in Sandton?
No, yes, that piece of land. No, listen, it's still getting worse. They says, give us 280 million rands the day when you have money. That piece of land is the most expensive piece of real estate in South Africa, right in the heart of Sandton. Over and above that, they says, no, you don't pay for services, but you charge the Gautrain concession. The city will provide you water, electricity, whatever, but you don't pay.
Is that incompetence or corruption?
Corruption of the highest order.
Corruption, okay.
Corruption of. You remember in 2019, just before I resigned, at one time for a whole month, I stopped supply of water to Gautrain Station. I don't know if you remember that. It was big news. They had to use portable toilets because I put my foot down. Mama Bolo from the province, instead of supporting me as a mayor and fighting against corruption, he wanted to take me to court. Fortunately enough, I had good lawyers. We said, no, put R1 million in the event you lose this case.
What about Bain? Where do you stand on Bain?
Well, obviously, if in part of this corruption cases in the city of Johannesburg, I'm not aware of their involvement. Probably General Sibia might really know. But I'm against any company or anyone who was involved in corruption. I think IT companies in the city of Johannesburg, I mean, all the contracts were so embarrassing, the level of corruption that was there with the former MMC and the former mayor and their wives. I mean, it's frightening. Why the NPA is not prosecuting?
Did you get your meeting, by the way, with the NPA? You were about, was it 2 weeks ago? You wanted to see Shamila Batoy?
Yeah, in fact, I'll be writing a letter to her this morning because she responded. And of course, I was on holiday. When she responded, I had a meeting with my legal team yesterday, last night, so I'll be responding to her.
What do you want to talk to her about?
Watch the space.
Okay.
watch the space.
Herman, before...
So, Alec, now, let me tell you now about this particular case of the Gautrain Station. This regiment, Gupta-linked, went into the market. They came out with a design of the massive development. Had you remember, so for years there were the billboards around there. They came out with a model of what they were going to build. You know how much they raised from the private sector? 420 million rands, and obviously gave the investors the title deed as security. So when this matter came to my attention, I'm afraid to tell people of South Africa and Johannesburg, their land is gone. The only way that they can get that land back, they've got to pay 420 million rands. The land that the Gupta-linked regime did not even have the courtesy, after raising 420 million rands, to give the city the 280. That's it, that land is not, you know. So this is just, and then for years, including reporting this to President Cyril Ramaphosa personally, no one tells me that they don't have enough evidence to prosecute.
It's an extraordinary country that the new coalition government, of which you are almost certainly going to be a part, is going to inherit. But can we as the public start getting excited now about 2024? I remember a while ago you said to me it's going to take years to fix the mess that the ANC has put South Africa into.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, anyone who's going to promise a turnaround to South Africans that to happen within 10 to, you need 15, 20 years at least. If you can fix, just really bring South Africa's unemployment rate to plus minus 10%. If anyone can achieve it in 10, 15 years, that person would have really done very, very well, because the damage is so deep. And why it is so deep is because ANC has got the capacity to sabotage good governance, like you see in the municipalities where we contest. They can go out and mislead society, blame new government. I mean, you can imagine, I took over government on the 22nd of August. A week later, the ANC leadership, Bladen Zimbabwe and all the ANC Women's League, they were there every day wanting service delivery. So those are dynamics that you've got to deal with. But I think what gives me the hope is because majority of our law enforcement agencies, they've had enough of what's happening. And one of the things that I'm appealing to parties that we're going to go into government with, our legal team is already looking at legislation where we can immediately bring back the scorpions, and actually with more power away from politicians. If I have my way, and I can get the support of other political parties in parliament, the scorpions, the head of the scorpions, the head of the NPA, they must not be appointed by the president. You know, so that they must not really have the allegiance to political parties. If I have my way, I really hope that we have to have this constitutional changes as a matter of agency, so that we allow our law enforcement agencies to do what is best. I don't understand why politicians can say the scorpions are after them. If I've not done anything, you know how many times people have laid charges against me? In fact, even a few weeks ago, ANC went to go and lay charges against me for buying some, they call what, spying machines. I mean, you know, for me, I don't have to really worry about that if the head of the scorpions and whatever, they will abuse their powers. I mean, I have a constitutional right as a president or as an MP or whatever. If they come to me, they've got to really have the evidence. If they're playing a political game, it's going to catch up with them. But one thing for me, I believe we need to ensure that our criminal justice system is as free as possible from political interference.
It's a very good point, and I think it's one that we're seeing playing out in municipalities around the country, where the law enforcement agencies are now starting to support, for instance, Christopher Papas and Mgeni as an example. But just to close off with, because we pretty much run out of time, you've done a lot of work behind the scenes at Action SA, appointing various interesting people, ex-ANC, ex-DA, to lead your provincial structures as heads. How far are you away from the finished item? In other words, you've got an election coming in 2024. When are you going to have chair people in each of the provinces, and when are you going to feel like you've got enough branches to govern, as you said earlier?
Well, you know, the balance of this year, my focus is on the appointment of chairpersons. As you are aware, on Monday, announced Mpumalanga 1. On the 1st of September, the Free State, I've got the candidate already signed up for the Free State. October, I've got the Northern Cape and KZN. KZN, I've had two unfortunate...
You've had trouble in KZN.
Yeah, but politically driven. But, you know, because I wasn't born yesterday, but that's why the next person I'm negotiating with, you know, the very experienced ethical leader, because I think that's really one of the principles and values I stand for. So I'm hoping that Northern Cape done, Actually, hopefully by today, I will sign up the KZN, a real powerhouse. And then Western Cape, unfortunately, as I'm talking to you right now, Fake is in hospital. That is why 2 months ago, I had to really ask her to step down and look after her health. Unfortunately, was not in good health. So the Western Cape is the one where I will, within the next few days and weeks, I'll be conducting interviews, thorough interviews, doing the background checks on these people with our intelligence and so forth. But one thing I can commit to South Africans, but by end of this year, XNSA will have provincial chairpersons in all 9 provinces. I'm excited with Northwest in particular with Kwena Mangope. I think if you look at Khosi Mangope, what is done, Lucas Mangope, and the Kwena embraces that. I look at Gauteng. I mean, Gauteng, it's in the back with
You've got a big win in Gauteng.
No, Gauteng, it's in the back.
He's quite a man.
But Gauteng, it's in the back. And I think the Northwest as well. Eastern Cape, for me, Athol does not really belong to really be a premier candidate. He's obviously the national chairperson. I think Athol, because of his wealth of experience, we need him at national level. So one of the things, one of the responsibilities.
You're twisting that man's arm because he was out of politics.
No, and he did not want to come back. And I said that, Athol, have you done enough? I mean, the country is burning and you tell me you're out of politics. It's worse than the situation right now is worse than when you started. And I think I'm really so grateful that he accepted to leave everything and get his hands. And I'm telling you, if you want to see one hardworking man, I mean, it's unbelievable. Hardworking, brave, a real patriot. So by end of this year, I'll have 9 provincial chairpersons. I can assure people of this country. And then come 2023. That's where now we're going to focus on creation of hall-to-hall structures in every community, in every street. Massive campaign to register the 10 million people who have not even bothered to register. We're going to educate them about the power of their vote, how powerful their vote is going to be. They can really have been unemployed for the last 28 years or so. You know what? We're teaching them, we are registering them. You will see by the time IEC starts running their voter registration week, XNSA would have already registered a big number because we on that the mission on registering people on the phone. We are teaching our ground forces in every township, in every village, in every suburb. When you meet someone who's not registered, you can convince them to register. They've got their ID. Register them there. It takes less than 3 minutes to register them with the IEC so that you can save them the travel of going to queue the whole day with the IEC, with the power failures and having to queue the whole day.
The Action SA train is rolling.
No, it's rolling. We need to remove ANC from government, and we need to do it in a democratic fashion. We don't need Russians to give us AK-47s. They're busy destroying Ukraine, so I'm sure they've got a lot to do with the AK-47s. Here in South Africa, we need the votes. And that's what Action SA is doing, educating people. You know how people get excited who had given up. It gives even me or all of us where you convince someone who is saying, no, politics, I've got nothing to do. What do I vote for? And then 5 minutes later, this person is excited, take out the ID. I remember in Soweto last year with the elections, how many times, I mean, it used to be for me really magical, where you will be campaigning, passing the street. Someone will be standing at the gate. You talk to them for 5 minutes, not interested. 5 minutes later, they run to the house to go and get their ID. And 5 minutes later, they're registered. IEC sends them the confirmation that they're registered. You know, by the time you leave there, you know you've got a voter. And that's really what I think for me, this brutal job that I'm doing, this job that I hate because it's brutal, but it's one of the most rewarding jobs. Every time experiences like this happen, every time you see the results of what we did to the ANC with the local government election, because they'll never recover from what we did to them. And it's unfortunate that DA does not want to govern.
Herman Mashaba, always good to talk with you. Herman Mashaba is the leader of Action SA. I'm Alec Hogg from biznews.com.